Hey y'all beautiful people. Welcome to another Buildcraft video. I'm Pretzelis, and I am so excited to bring to you my experience with my first true love, Warframe. Today, I'm excited to talk about another new series. This one, Loadout Snapshot, is more bite-sized in concept, as I'll be going over singular versions of full loadouts that I find fun, unique, and engaging. I like to preface that in everything I do, I always work to maximize enjoyment through expression and minimize boredom with unique, thrilling, and thematic builds. However, I encourage you to use these loadouts more as an inspiration rather than as an unchangeable meta of sorts. What makes Warframe incredible in my eyes is its coherence with the player's desire to express themselves, whether it's through their fashion, their gameplay, or their ideas of what is fun to them. With all that said, let's move on to this first installment of Loadout Snapshot, Unlife Seraph. I'll start today, not with a weapon or a specific synergy to utilize, but with a simple fantasy. One that I wanted to achieve with a specific combination of Warframe companion and weapons. The fantasy I'm referring to today can be summarized by a simple catchphrase: save your friends, pillage your enemies. Today, I'll illustrate how I achieved that fantasy for myself, and in the process, introduce you to a loadout I love having fun with. Let's begin. Ladies and gentlefolks, I present to you Nekros Prime, Lord of the Undead, Master of Resources. For me, when thinking about how to satisfy the fantasy central to this build, I think of Nekros immediately. Why? Well, he's the only Warframe in the entire game with a basic loot ability that doesn't require a mod slot to function and can be used in regular combat. This means that I can make use of all of his mod slots to express my gameplay intentions to their fullest, and even add a secondary focus to the build. And seeing as this is a two-pronged fantasy that we want to fulfill here, Nekros is perfect for us, as you'll see. Let's move on to the build. For those not familiar with Nekros builds, there are a few staple mods in here that just work so well with him that I might as well get them out of the way first. I won't mince words. Despoil is essential for what we want to do. It allows Nekros to desecrate enemies for more loot with his health pool, and as you'll see, we're going to need all the energy we can get for other things. Vitality fuels that health pool, and Stretch is awesome to have to increase the range at which we can desecrate enemies. Equilibrium is another staple for Nekros because his Desecrate can easily produce health orbs, which can then be converted to energy. With this mod, our energy will almost always be topped up thanks to all the health orbs lying around. For defense, which Nekros desperately needs, we have health conversion to convert health orbs into up to 1350 armor, adaptation for damage type resistance, and finally Shield of Shadows to grant a defensive use for Shadows of the Dead. Finally, we have the mod that makes the build unique, the rarely seen Soul Survivor. This mod is actually incredibly powerful for what it is, an instant ranged revive for anything and anyone. The catch is that it drains all of your energy. However, if you're killing enemies reliably, the health orbs all around you will immediately refill all your energy whenever you use your Soul Punch to revive, thanks to Equilibrium. This mod is awesome. It's the highlight of this build for me, as I'm always able to keep my entire team and my Kavat alive at all times, even if they get chunked by beefy enemies. To round out this build's resource economy and support value, I opted for Combat Discipline. This is a fairly niche mod on its own, but it's perfect for a Despoil Nekros because it allows him to always be able to pick up health orbs and provide added support to his team with a very nice 20 HP heal on kill for everyone but him. You'll find that the combination of Combat Discipline and Despoil will sometimes get your health to dangerous levels, but thanks to Arcane Pulse, I can heal myself and my Kavath to full HP if health orbs are around. Arcane Strike is here for the melee-oriented playstyle, but I recommend slotting in Arcane Guardian in case you're in high-level missions, since the defenses that you already have probably won't be enough to keep you alive. Maglev is here so with its slides so I can reliably retain my mobility when aiming down sights of my Phantasma, which is another staple of this build. And finally, you'll see that I opted to infuse Trinity's Well of Life over Terrify. I did this because, as you'll see, health is a resource that I will always need, especially for high-level missions, and Well of Life is one of the best infusions I can use for reliable healing for myself and for my team. What loot build would be complete without a Smita Kavat? Enter Urviao, my feline loot companion. The The focus of her build isn't damage, of course, but utility and staying alive to provide that utility. Charm and Tech Enhance together are essential, as Charm can randomly provide double the loot and Tech Enhance can extend the duration of that buff by 30%. For staying alive, we have 3 essential mods: Link Health, Link Armor, and Tech Assault. It's important to note that all Link mods will dynamically update their values to the pet depending on your Warframe at any given time, so keep in mind that health conversion will increase Irviau's armor further when it procs, for example. Tech Assault is very useful because it adds a safety net in case my Kavat takes lethal damage, allowing me to focus on reviving my other allies more often. Next, we have 2 synth mods for companions, Synth Fiber and Synth Deconstruct. As many players know, Synth Fiber has the hidden feature of allowing the Warframe to pick up health orbs while at max health, so it's very useful for this build due to its reliance on them. Synth Deconstruct is simple in that it adds more health orbs to the battlefield from slain enemies, which will always be useful for us. Finally, we have the mainstay utility mods Fetch and Primed Animal Instinct for Vacuum and Radar, and Sharpened Claws for the occasional armor strip, which will always be welcome for this build. Next, let's move on to my choice of primary weapon for this build, which so happens to be my favorite shotgun in the game, the Phantasma. This weapon is a monster, and it's one of the few guns in the game that can contend with even the most powerful melee weapons in terms of crowd clearing capability. The best part about this weapon is the infinite enemy punch through, which allows us to shoot through our well of life in order to charge it up for more healing, while also damaging enemies behind and in front of the affected target. Juicy, juicy multitasking. Let's move on to the mods I'm using. We have Prime Point Blank for damage, Toxic Barrage and Frigid Blast for viral and status chance, and then with the rest of the build, I focus on Multi-Shot and Heat. After mods like Hell's Chamber and Vigilante Armaments, you'll see that I'm able to fire 15 beams at once, each of which has a proc chance of over 60%. And thanks to my high heat damage distribution, I'm able to leverage the power of its proc by stacking it ad infinitum on multiple enemies, burning them all to the ground. Finally, I need to take care of the very high ammo consumption of this weapon with Prime Shotgun ammo mutation in the Exilus slot. Moving out to the build overview, I'll quickly look at my Parazon, as it will be incidentally relevant in missions since I'll be using an impact status-based Twin Grakatas to proc Parazon finishers. You'll see here that I'm using Blood for Energy, Blood for Life, and Blood for Ammo to help me with my gameplay resource economy when I need it. And finally, for melee, I run a combo-based Cronin Prime build with Canaramon and Healing Return to keep my health topped up in dangerous missions. With both Arcane Strike and Berserker being used here, I recommend binding your melee key to the scroll wheel or something similar for easy spamming. If you have a Riven, great, but since this is the Cronin Prime, you probably don't need one. They're getting nerfed next patch as it stands. This build is a joy to play, in large part because when I run it, I love watching all the resources and orb pickups fly up the bottom part of my screen as they keep me alive and feed the loadout's various intricacies. Support-wise, this build is also a great thing for squads because it offers so much to the team. Healing, resources, ranged instant revives, you name it, Necros can provide it. Against high-level enemies, this build also fights very well on its own due to the constant healing it can receive from Health Orbs, Arcane Pulse, and Healing Return. I often have to fall back to the Cronin Prime in high-level missions due to their crowd-clearing capability and healing potential, but that doesn't mean that I can't yank out the Twin Grakatas every now and then for a Parazon finisher. As I've stated before, though, when combined with Well of Life, the Phantasma can wreck high-level enemies on its own while also keeping you alive. And with that, we have our loadout snapshot of Unlife Seraph. Stay safe and have fun, everyone.